Hello and welcome back to Ipsters, Imperfect Parenting. We have lots of different podcasts happening around here, but we, at some point in this season, I think in the beginning, we were talking to Seth, and I think it was Seth said, we should call our listeners the Ipsters. The Imperfect Parenting podcast listeners are now the Ipsters. So we're back with the Ipsters. It's good to be here. Love having Seth with us. One of our favorite people in the world. My favorite person in the world is next to me.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
So we're always, again, top of the month is we have Seth with us. It's not as fun when you're not here like we used to do, but at least we get to see you. It feels like more regularly. So that's good.
We'll just have to figure out. I am trying to figure out a trip to Sacramento, so maybe we can record live next time.
Or we bring this on the road.
Yeah. We could take it on the road.
We need to bring a few people with us. We're going to do that. So who wants to do our meme for today?
Seth. The first thing Seth said when he saw us was, I like this meme. And he's the wisest and oldest one here, so he understands this the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Here's what it says. My parents have 10 pictures of me from 1991. I have 182 photos of my little one from 7 to 8 a.m. today alone, which obviously they didn't have iPhones, smartphones back then. So, of course, very few photos of our kids. I think, too, like sometimes you have a lot of photos of your first one and not as many as the next ones.
Very true.
Yeah, I think that's true. The other thing that you probably have 182 is if you have a toddler. Because Leah, our friend, has a little girl named Lulu, and forever Lulu figured out how to open the camera and take photos, but it was just the top of her forehead and her curly hair. Do you remember that, Ashley?
Yes.
I mean, she found Christian's phone, our coworker, and took probably 100 photos in like 20 minutes that Leah was doing stuff, like, because he didn't care. And then there's videos of The Office, but it's like all awkward angles. That's probably why you have
2-year-old perspective.
The view.
2-year-old perspective.
A 2-year-old with a GoPro. That's what it reminds me of.
That's what it is.
That's funny. I tried to put I looked like a 2-year-old with GoPro the other day because we were paddleboarding with our dog, who I call our 2-year-old. And I put it on, like, had a lanyard on, and I had it like at my waist, trying to record thing. There's nothing usable on any of that because it's just obnoxiousness happening. Like, this is as if Rosie took camera footage for us. Oh well.
Just trying to stay on the board.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yes.
All right. Well, we have a fun topic that we do with Seth because this is the world, really. And we want to talk about kind of the relationship and how to guide this relationship with kids on devices. And I don't know that it's going to be limited. This topic's not going to be just limited to like kids on devices as much as it is families as a whole on devices and what that looks like, because it's not going away, right? We know that. And it's only going to get bigger and more consuming and more available on everything. Like that's crazy. The evolution of the phone is just bizarre to me because now, like, Addie was at the fair last night and I said, do you need cash for food? And she goes, no, I have your card on my phone. And I said, oh, good to know.
What else are you buying with that?
Yeah. So
she
completely has no need for me in most places, even at the fair. Remember at the fair, you had to have cash always. Not anymore.
They all take Apple Pay.
Something. Yeah. Anyways. But yeah, so we're going to dive into that. Seth, I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit why you being on here would be so much more useful of what you're doing and what you offer.
Yeah. We have a company called Jesus on Every Screen. And we, when I was at Bethel, I realized, wow, we're really good at social media here at Bethel. And when I moved away, I noticed that a lot of churches don't use social media very well, that churches use social media for a bulletin board. Like, here's the songs we're going to sing on Sunday. Here's when the next picnic is. See you on service or at service this Sunday. And a lot of times they just use it as an announcement board, or they're just showing photos. And I just started getting this idea to help churches. So we started a company, and we serve churches, we serve pastors, we serve certain kingdom businesses that have content, and we just create social media for them. Part of it is, Jesus, one of the things God showed me through all of this was that 4 out of the 12 apostles, so 1/3 of Jesus' entire ministry team, was media. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were his media team.
Mm.
And they didn't have phones, so they're not trying to GoPro Jesus while they're walking around Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. But they went back and they wrote it all down. And we're so grateful that they had content that they kept from Jesus' life that we can read 2,000 years later and receive from. And so we started this company. So I love social media. I think it's really powerful. The church does really well with word of mouth, and social media is word of mouth on steroids. And so we serve a whole bunch of ministries, whole bunch of churches, and we provide social media services for them. So it's something that I'm involved in almost on a daily basis. And we have staff that this is all they do, is social media, technology, internet, content, all the time, every day.
Which I love that you love it.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about things that most people think, I think sometimes the advice that they get, they hate it, and so they're afraid of it. But you come from a place of, all right, it's not going anywhere. It's something that was created, which, there's God in it. So how do we have value for it? So let's talk about like some parent perspectives of social media or of devices. Like lots of questions we get these days are, how much screen time is too much screen time? Or should they have social media? At what age? Should they have a phone? Should they have a computer? So let's break down some of our thoughts around this and any stats that you have. I'll jump in. I'm gonna facilitate this time a little bit. So thank you two for being guests on my podcast.
Happy to be here.
But I'd love to get this conversation going because I think those are so many big questions that parents have. So let's help them out on what we're doing in our own home, because I do think this is a family decided practice, because you know what you can do, but this is what we're doing, and this is our thoughts around it.
Let me just first start by responding to what Seth just said. I think it's so amazing when you take something that the enemy loves to use to destroy, kill, and just create havoc. But when you put it through a filter of kingdom, it just changes how we view it and changes what it can become. So how you just describe social media has this, like, there's almost this joy to it and this opportunity of we get to spread God's heart. And I think starting from that place today feels like the right place to start at, because this is a scary topic. Mm-hmm. And there is so much pain and turmoil and comparison taking place in this world that it's just destroying people, even families, which is why I think it's important we talk about it. But to start at, there is an opportunity here if you choose to grab a hold of it. So thanks for kicking off Brittney's podcast like that today. We appreciate it.
Well, I think that's one thing we need to understand about social media and technology is it's amoral.
Yeah.
It's not evil. It's not good. It's all in the hands of the user.
That's right.
How I use this decides what gets spread, decides what gets passed on, or what gets received. And so it's more about the heart and the internal world than it is just the screen or the tech.
It's probably the same as money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It doesn't matter how much money you have. If your heart hasn't been tender to the Lord and you haven't solved those issues, it's going to create problems again. So yeah, I think this is a conversation we're having all the time in our house with our children. We now at this point have an almost 19-year-old, almost 15 and 12-year-old. Our son's asking us all the time, so when do I get a phone?
Yeah, I know.
When do I get to have a phone? And we are having this conversation. We are walking with him. I think he's watching his sisters. He's watching all his friends. The classic, all my
Everybody
friends have a
has
phone.
Yep.
I don't feel my son's like anger towards it. He's just trying to work it out because we all are, because it's just so much a part of life these days.
Yeah, I mean, we learned with Delaney, too young, not mature enough.
Exactly.
And we gave her a phone, and we had to do this back and forth, taking it away, as far as like, feel free to use your phone as soon as you have a plan for how you're going to protect us and you. We did that a lot. And then if you want more nitty-gritty details, go read my book, which is the name of this podcast. Should be easy to find. Adeline, she's different level of maturity and older, I would say. And then it's more limited on what she has a bit than what we gave Delaney. And Lincoln doesn't have one, and he's 12. And Lincoln and his sister that has a phone share a cloud account. So as annoying as it is, I kind of love it. It's like accountability, if you will, because if somebody starts texting Addie, it comes through on Lincoln's cloud on his computer, and so he can see. And they have both tattled on each other when someone's crossed the line somewhere, and it's usually very mild, which I'm very grateful for. But I'm like, and this is why we have not changed it as much as Adeline would love us to. I love it for this. So that's like as far as the cell phone conversation in our house has rolled out. Obviously, been said lots of conversations around it. What are you guys doing in your house, Seth?
Yeah, we have a 14-year-old, 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So we have a kid phone that they, if they're going somewhere, they can take the phone with them. Really, it's basically Brooklyn's phone, the 14-year-old. She kind of gets to use it the most. And yeah, we have limits on it. We have boundaries on it. It doesn't have like a massive data plan. It doesn't have, like we just gave her a low plan. Like you don't have unlimited everything here. We have some pretty strict boundaries about like when she can use it, when she can't use it, what time to turn it off, stuff like that. And then, yeah, we have all the controls in place too of like, oh, we can kind of check on what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other eyeballs involved and accountability involved in it. But yeah, our kids don't have them. But again, our second, Lincoln's 12, August is 11. So August doesn't have one either. And he's really not even that interested in it at this point. He'd rather go play baseball than be on the phone.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's funny. A lot of Lincoln's friends are in the same lineup as he is, which he's either the youngest and has older siblings that are sisters. His other friend is, I think, dead center, but has older brother and sister. And it's funny, birth order does have an influence in things. Even Adeline, who's second in our household, same age as Brooklyn, they're just different exposure to the world because Adeline had Delaney, who decided to blow up her life a little bit, which Brooklyn hasn't had someone in front of her blowing up her life. And so there's just so many different things. When Adeline was given a phone, a lot of the conversations was around what Delaney did with the phone that needs to be different. So it's just so funny that even birth order changes some of the perspective of device and use as well. So I think there's so many different components in like the lineup. That's why I always say it's such a family thing that you need to dive in and actually have these conversations with and figure out what works for your family. And then what is it that you feel like you want to protect and foster? I think that's the big thing, because a lot of times I feel like, I'd love your input on this statement, but I feel like devices seem to be a place where it causes disconnect in the family, and they don't know how to solve that problem other than just taking it away. And so then kids feel punished or withheld. So open discussion. Ready to go.
Britt's just soft pitching questions today.
Oh, yeah.
I think part of this discussion, I'm sure Seth's thinking about this already, but is the parents first have to confront their own stuff. we've had seasons around the house when it's been hard, excuse me, and busy, and there's lots going on. Where, to be honest, we are finding our own reason to be on our own device or doing something else, and all of a sudden, the house is quiet and separated, and we're all distant, and we're like, okay, hold on a minute, what is happening? We've disappeared into some reality that isn't real. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the first thing we have to confront in ourselves as parents is, what am I doing with my device? How self-controlled am I with this thing? Because if I'm asking something from you and I'm not doing it, that's going to be no fun for this culture and this experience. I think the next thing is it actually turns up the requirement for relationship and parenting. Is I have to stay engaged with you, because it comes back to what Seth said earlier. It's the heart issue. That I'm paying attention to the heart issue that's happening here. So if you're looking for something, why? What are you looking for? What's happening inside of you? What's the insecurity that's coming up that you feel like you have to go find that? Like that feels like what I'm leaning into, because if I'm missing those opportunities, I think it's always been there. There's always been these insecure things that show up, that get exposed, that as parents, we get to walk with our kids. But if we're not paying attention, they're finding answers in their device, in their video game, in this reality that isn't real. So that's the things I think about.
And Ben, like with that, just to be honest, like I can scroll with the best of them.
I'm a great scroller.
You mean you got that flex going real well?
Yeah, I can do that really well. But that's, when I'm emotionally overloaded or I'm stressed out or frustrated or something didn't go well,
totally,
I can have the tendency to go to my device, go by myself. Just let me scroll for a little bit. Let me see what else is happening in the world. Let me get a little dopamine hit.
Mm-hmm.
And one word or one name for that is short-term energy relieving behavior. Mm-hmm. Is when there's, like, let's say you've been out with the kids all day and you're just kind of like overloaded. You've been at the fair or you've been at the mall and there's a lot of stuff happening and your senses are kind of overloaded and your nerves are kind of fried. And you come home, you're like, I just want a half an hour by myself on the phone. Everybody goes on their devices. Like, oh, that's the tendency to try to relieve the emotional energy short term. And it helps a little bit. The problem is it's not a long-term solution. Like then what you're saying is like, oh yeah, little by little, we grow more and more distant. We separate when we're overloaded. We don't connect. We don't talk. And so that's a tendency for all of us to do, I think, is to go relieve a little bit of energy by going to the phone or going to YouTube or going to social media, however that plays out for a person. A lot of times it is a short-term energy relieving behavior to help us feel different, but doesn't necessarily help us feel better in the long run and can affect our connection to our kids.
Yeah. I mean, Ben is exactly right. We, Jesus Culture just started this 40-day digital fast here. And Darren Whitehead.
Dr. Darren Whitehead.
Yes, he has this book and it's really revealing. And I love his perspective. It's not shaming. It's not blaming. It's just revealing some truths to what we've kind of been ignoring. But, the scrolling effect is basically what he's kind of like, hey, I don't know if you realize, but there's some things going on underneath the scrolling. And, he was confronted by his own daughter's feedback, which is why it really urged him to write this book and go on this journey. So we're doing this, and, that right before Ben and I had the conversation of, I feel like we've been in a busy season. So we come home from work and, we say our highs to the kids and all that stuff. And then before I have to go make dinner, we kind of are all quiet, separate. And I'm like, oh, this isn't really doing anything for us. Mm-hmm. And so we were happy to join. But it's been really interesting because instead of playing games on my phone, this is Brittney's confession right here. Instead of playing stupid, generic Tetris, that is why there's so many versions of Tetris. I don't know. I'm not playing that. before I go to bed or in the blank spaces of the day or mindless scrolling, I am reading my Bible because I'm like, well, what other better thing to do with my time? So there's just this whole other piece of me that feels like it's being fed in a way that I haven't, like I still read my Bible, but it's not the amount of time I am in there is quite a bit different, which is funny to me because I'm realizing how much I just get on, like I'll be watching a movie and playing Tetris on my phone. Why is that even happening? Like this is
Short-term relief.
So again, to go back to what I'm asking my children to do.
Yeah.
Am I aware enough of what I'm doing? So when I don't like that my son's been on the video game for 4 hours on a Saturday, but if you want to add up all the times that I've been on my stupid Tetris game or watching Netflix in bed, not much better.
Ouch.
You know?
And one of the things that Darren Whitehead said, and that message is on Jesus Culture TV, Jesus Culture TV.
Some kind of podcast that they have.
He also did a podcast with Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson. It's starting to show up everywhere. Really powerful message. Really encourage you to get it. But he made this statement. He said when he talks to parents, especially, and his message is very family forward. He's really wanting to pour into families, help equip them in this digital age. Like we are navigating this thing together. We're all trying to figure out what do you do as technology changed overnight. It just increased last night. Something changed. It's now new. We have a whole new operating system than we did yesterday.
Yeah.
And so how do we navigate this as a family and stay connected? So he's actually doing a really good job. I think it's catching steam. But he says this thing when he talks to parents. They're like, well, the ship's kind of sailed. The ship's already sailed. I already gave my kids a phone. That they're already, call it addicted, or that they're already so engaged in this thing. I don't know what to do. And it just feels so simple. But when he says it, it feels so important that we catch this. He says, you know what's kind of wild is once a ship sailed, you can turn it around. And it's like, yeah, you can absolutely turn it around, which means hard conversations, which means a change in agreement, a bit of an adjustment to our culture. But we have a long-term vision, and we're building something together. So this ship can turn around. It's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to take a while. But if we're willing to actually catch a vision for our family, it's going to require the ship to probably make some adjustments.
Yeah. I love that you guys are doing a 40-day fast with that. One of the best things I ever did was a 30-day fast where every time I was with my family, I turned my phone on airplane mode and I changed it to family mode. So I was like, oh, put my phone on family mode. And 30 days, I did nothing on the internet at all. Like I still took pictures of my kids and stuff like that, but I just wasn't on my phone at all. It was one of the most refreshing things I ever did as a parent. And what I realized was, oh, I'm going on this fast. While I'm on this fast and I'm sort of resetting, it would be wise if I started making a plan for how do I return to this, because I can't not use technology for the rest of my life unless I want to live in the mountains and never see
humans
society at all. So one of the things I did was I was like, I need to be really intentional to make a plan of how do I re-enter this world in a healthier way. You know, once you fast and you kind of detox and you're like, wow, this feels really good. I like this. And at the same time, I still need to do some work and I still need to, do all kinds of stuff on my phone. I enjoy that stuff. It's not like it's all bad, but how do I make a plan for myself to re-enter in a healthy way?
Yeah.
I think it's really, really good. And probably, how far in are you guys on the 40 days? Like just a week and a half or something?
It'll be 2 weeks this Sunday.
Yeah. Almost 2.
But it's, the thing that I loved that Darren did was because, some of our world does require us to be on social media, checking things, responding to all of our hipsters out there.
Hipsters.
To be engaged, but it's more so, it's not about your work unless you're zoning out on work and spending all your work's time on your Instagram or whatever, but it's more about reconnecting with the priorities of your life. He talks about utility or distraction. And so I think that's what we've been using it as. And so my phone goes back and forth between grayscale, which is so boring. Putting your phone on grayscale is so incredibly boring. And I know that right now we're like all over the place with not really talking about parenting, but I think everyone may want us to answer the question, like, your kids are supposed to have 2.5 hours of screen time. They're not supposed to have a cell phone until this age, and they're not supposed to have social media until this age. I'm not going to tell you that. I don't know if you realize that yet. I'm not going to do it because I'm not the mother of your children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the mother of my children. And I know my children better than anyone else other than you. You are the next one in this room that knows them that well.
Thanks.
And the Lord. And so the three of us will make a plan for social media, for devices. And so if I tell you this, you do A, B, and C, and it equals this, and it doesn't equal that, then you're going to be frustrated at me. Well, it was never mine to create for you.
That's
so
right.
If you're frustrated that we didn't answer your question, I'm sure there's lots of statistics that you could find on the internet that'll tell you what is recommended and what's best. But you know your kids. If your kids got a more addictive style personality, like they obsess over things, and that can be beautiful or harmful. If they have a checkout personality and they will mindlessly go to this, you know your kid. I think that's the hard part, is parents are looking for us to answer this. I'm not gonna. And I don't feel bad about it at all. I actually want you to lean into the reflection of your own life and your personality and what's going on and what you're escaping and what you're excusing. And then use that feedback of your own life and go, am I leading this family the way I want to? Am I asking them things that I'm doing? And let that fight internally be the fuel that sets what it is that you want to create for your family around devices.
Yep. And it's really an invitation to go on a journey. This is very much what we're doing right now. I mean, we've been on a journey for a while because devices have been around most of the kids'
in
life.
Age, and it feels like it changes a little bit.
We're just talking the other day. Like, it feels like we have 12, almost 15, and almost 19.
There's a lot happening in our
They're all in these really important spots right now. So this is such a big topic. It's not fair to do it in one sitting. We'll talk about it again. But welcome to your journey.
Yeah. Welcome to your journey to figure out with God.
That's right. Sure. Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, before we take our question, did you know, Seth, that we have our first sponsor for the Imperfect Parenting Podcast?
Yep.
I'm super excited. It's called Rinse for Baby. And it is a service that actually helps provide families to go on vacation with as much ease as possible, or travel to, different destinations and rent baby gear. Now, I told them when they came to us, I was a little mad at them for not doing this when I had children. Because we have traveled to Australia, we have traveled all over the US, and either lugged with us pack and plays, which
strollers
I'm pretty sure they're just trying to break my shin, is what pack and plays are trying to do. Those things, when you pull it off of the carousel and it smacks you in, it's a pain like no other. So Rinse for Baby they've got over 30 states recognized in the US, and they like literally deliver it to your hotel, your Airbnb, meet you at the airport. I mean, it's like
set it up,
a white glove service for baby gear. And they are going after excellence. They're also a kingdom-minded company, so they want you to experience kind of the love and presence and excellence of the Father as they usher you onto your family vacation with as much ease and peace in the small things. Okay, mamas out there, I know you know what I'm talking about because we have packed everything. So Rinse for Baby is a wonderful company that's worth checking out. Do you want to tell them where to go, Ben?
I do. So Rinse for Baby, rinseforbaby.com. The letter 4, Rinse for Baby. Promo code Imperfect Parenting will get you 10% off your reservation of your next vacation with ease. So we love these guys. We love what they're doing. They really are holding a standard of excellence. So go check them out.
Yeah. It seemed fitting that, we're all about family, so we're trying to send you on vacation and then make it.
When you're on vacation, trying to put your device down, what's one less thing to think about, like the pack and play?
I did love that they were talking about like they have the highest in like stuff for babies and stuff like that. And I was reading some of these names and I'm like, Snoo?
The brand names.
What is a Snoo? I don't know what a Snoo is. Do you know what a Snoo is?
No, I do not.
Most of this, I mean, I had to look it up, but I was laughing because we had Graco. Is that still a company? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just know that like all these high-end names that I'm like, these were none of the high-end names that we had when we were going around. So I was looking up all these ones. I'm like, look at these fancy baby gears. Like this baby's rolling in style. So anyways, it's just funny. So Rinse for Baby, you want to check them out. It's lots of fun.
Awesome.
You guys got time to answer a question?
Yep.
Yes, host.
Okay. Yes.
I like this.
You like that I'm the host. Okay. All right. Well, I will read you the question as the host. How do you raise a strong-willed 9-year-old firstborn daughter who wants to be an adult already and be in control of her own life?
Seth, you should start since you're closer to a 9-year-old daughter.
And she's the oldest.
Yeah. 9-year-old daughter, firstborn, who wants control of her own life. Make sure she gets control of her own life. Just give her really good choices. Practice
Great
giving
answer.
choices that make you happy so that you give her power over her own life to make those decisions. That's, my firstborn daughter, we worked really, really hard at that to give her the power she was craving through choices that made us deliriously happy, that we would enjoy. And having boundaries, having a really, really good plan so you don't get mad. A lot of times these types of situations can turn into a big power struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You're just mad and you're frustrated because you didn't have a really good plan. So having good choices and having good boundaries when the kids are trying to make other choices can be very, very helpful, because then you can keep them powerful and yourself powerful at the same time. If you get angry at them because they're trying to take over or they're trying to just do whatever they want and you get angry, you just gave them control of you. And now you're going to try to control them back. So then you just have a huge power struggle on your hands, and that's not going to work. So really, really good choices and really, really good boundaries that keep you calm, keep you powerful. At the same time you're giving them power can be really helpful.
Yeah, I would just encourage this parent. I'm sure there's lots of them out there with young ladies wanting freedom. First thing is maybe check in on your parenting style. What's your parenting style? Because that could be part of the problem. You become passive or permissive or even aggressive. That your style is creating part of the dynamic that you're not enjoying living in. So if you can work out how to get back to the right one. Engaged. That was a test. That was a test, guys. You failed.
That's why you looked at me with eyes of panic.
What is Brittney's book about again? Getting back to engaged. I think that's gonna be part of the goal right here. So you can set the boundaries Seth's talking about. So you can have the plan and ask great questions. And then I think the other thing is, I think there's freedom practice at every stage of our kids' development. There can be a level of freedom practice, and at 9 years old, you can handle this much freedom. We're having conversations with our almost 19-year-old right now about her freedom practice. Like you are...
She had lots of freedom.
You have all the freedom, but your responsibility that comes with it. Yeah. With freedom comes responsibility. And so she's gaining more responsibility. She's like, it's getting heavy. Like, it's just starting out, baby. You're just getting going. But you're easing into it. So I think that's part two is this is freedom practice for the 9-year-old. So as responsibility sets in, they're going to go, oh my gosh, that's a lot. I know, but you can do this.
I think when power struggles show up, especially with people labeled strong-willed kids, a power struggle is usually an indication of someone feels powerless.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can help that strong-willed child feel powerful by empowering them and giving choices, like Seth, you first said, that often lowers the anxiety that they have in this power struggle. And so we don't offer those choices. We continue to try and stay in control of their life. So they are looking to feel powerful in our presence. So reduce some of the power struggle by figuring out how do I help them feel powerful by giving great choices.
Yep. Beautiful.
Awesome. Well, if you're interested in sending more questions, I suggest you go to info@lovingonpurpose, or you can message either one of us on social media and just say, this is a question for the podcast, and we throw it in here and we answer it as best we can. Awesome. Thanks, Seth, for joining us.
Yep.
It's super fun to have you. And
See you guys again.
yeah, it's always a good time. We will see you next time.
Till then.
See you later, guys.